Hello all, my name is Michael Gross. My colleague Jennifer and I have put this implementation plan for our performance improvement for Robotic Kitchen Wizard together for you guys. If you have any questions at the end of the presentation, you may reach out to me or Jen and we'll get back to you. We're at the HR department again. I'm sorry we're not able to do this in person like we initially intended, but COVID-19 has been crazy for everybody. Well, let's go ahead and get started. Sorry about that. So the first thing we want to focus on is the merger itself, right? So a lot of you have come from Kitchen Wizard, the other half of you kind of came from Robotic Kitchen, and now we are a part of this new family, Robotic Kitchen Wizard. And some of you may wonder what that means for our future and our success. That's why we're here today. So both of the companies before this have had issues with manufacturing. However, we're both renowned for their customer service. So now we at RKW kind of want to keep that going forward. So let's spend time looking at our new focus. As RKW, all we're going to do is work here in the United States. We're not wanting to be an international company just yet. And the reason for that is the regulatory approval needed in different countries. We focus just here in the US, we'll be able to better suit our product. We also, like I said, want to smooth out the manufacturing process. That's a big component of what we're going to talk about today, and we'll figure out why later. We also need to focus on all three levels need to be involved in this performance improvement implementation plan. That's the organizational level, the process level, and the job performer level. So let's focus first on the organizational structure and the organizational level. Now we understand in HR that change can cause fear. Just change itself, it's a scary word for a lot of people. However, we need to focus on why the change we're going to talk about today is great for everybody, as well as the organization as a whole. And so the first thing we're going to do is talk about the organizational structure, like I said. So RKW is going to use a different structure than what Kitchen Wizard and Robotic Kitchen used to use, which was a vertical approach, more of a top-down approach. We're going to go with what is called a horizontal approach. And Hawthorne believes that the horizontal approach gives employees the ability to devise innovative solutions to business problems while focusing on the team. The goal of this new structure at RKW will be just that. It's also going to allow us to be flexible as a company with the times as they change. So as things change, we're not going to have to sit here and wait for a memo to be pushed from the CEO. We'll be able to flex and change as we need at each level appropriately. And like we said earlier, it's innovative focus. So if somebody at the lowest level has a fix to a problem, they're able to maybe email the CEO directly. They're not having to go through the old chain of command, if you will. We're all able to communicate equally. And after we're able to focus on that, we want to focus on our vision at RKW. And that's going to be, the organizational vision is going to be to control over 80% of the market share for espresso machines in North America by 2025, while increasing our net revenue at RKW by 15% year over year. That is the organizational goal, and that has been decided and voted upon by the board and the CEO. Speaking of the board and CEO, if they're able to meet that vision, just so you're all aware of what their compensation plan will be, the board members would get 2%, no less, of the available market share available, and the CEO and chairman of the board would receive 10% of available market shares, as well as a $12.2 million bonus. Now, some of you may feel like this is a far-fetched compensation plan, a little high and a little crazy. However, we reached out and we have seen, as per Chrysler's reporting, that over at Tesla, CEO Elon Musk has a 12-tiered compensation plan that he's being rewarded under. Under his compensation plan, he's rewarded based on market valuation of his company, similarly to how we're going to do it on market control. So now that you understand how the organizational plan is going to work and what their compensation is going to look like, we need to focus on the process level. And Rumler and Brock said focusing on one or few processes that have major impact is better than focusing on many processes that may have a small impact. Because while all processes have some impact, a select few definitely have a major impact. And like we talked about earlier, we had issues in both companies with manufacturing, and we need to rectify those as RKW. So as we focus on the manufacturing process, the first metric we want to look at is DPMO. What that is defects per million opportunities. And Brockman writes that it's paramount for a company to have a successful product, but they measure and control the DPMO. And right now at RKW, after we've merged, we were sitting at a 3 sigma level. And what that means is that we have approximately 66,000 defects per million opportunities or million products output. What we need to get that to is a 6 sigma level. Now it's only 3 different sigma, it doesn't sound like a lot, but as some of you may be aware, what that means is that we would have 3.4 defects per million opportunities. What this would mean is that the manufacturing process level, we would be increasing the net revenue for RKW to help them meet that overall vision of 15% net revenue year over year. While it's also important to meet that net revenue and focus on our defects, we also need to increase the level of output. At RKW now today, we are creating 350 machines per day. While that may sound like a lot, we have a lot of back orders. We have a great product here at RKW, and so we have a lot of back orders at 3 major retail chains, and that's not good. Because if they're back ordered, people are going to eventually start to go to different companies for their espresso machines. So what we need to do is increase our capacity and our output to 1,000 machines per day minimum. And what that's going to do is allow us to reach that 80% market share. So again, the process level ties into the organizational goals and why we're focusing on these things. So now that you understand what our goals are at the process level, let's kind of focus on how we're going to work to meet those goals and what the rewards are going to be once those goals are met. So to help meet the goals weekly, we're going to brief the goals, and we're going to have meetings with managers and team leads, as well as either myself, Jen, somebody from the HR team, or executive team are going to be there to help remove any roadblocks the manufacturing process is running into. And that way we're able to get those problems solved directly to the top without having to go through anybody. Again, we're horizontal. We're not looking at top down. Everybody needs to run this through a chain of command. We're able to all meet together and do that. And that also allows us to brief all team leads on the goals to make sure everybody understands what the process level goals are. To get all the individual workers involved and to get everybody in the company involved, we're going to hold a poster contest as HR, and we expect your guys' buy-in on this. And what we're hoping for is a poster that'll be developed by workers, that'll be displayed in the workplace and the break rooms, so people can visually see what they're working towards. But people have to have a reason to work towards it, right? Just to say, here's what you're going to do. Well, why? Why? What's in it for me, right? Well, the in it for me for each worker in RKW is going to be a cumulative 5% pay raise and 5 paid vacation days. Now, originally, we intended to do that as one lump sum once both metrics were met at the process level. However, after speaking with Daniels, we understand that micro goals are more important and more attainable for people, and that it keeps them motivated. So what we're expecting now is that 20% of each of those goals met. Every 20%, 1% pay raise will happen, as well as a 1 paid vacation day, still resulting in the cumulative 5% and 5 paid days vacation. So now that we understand what we're doing at the process level, it's important to understand the job performer level. This is the people that are going to help us get those process and organizational level goals met. They're very important to all of us, the performer level. So before we get into what their goals and expectations are, we need to explain what the expectation is for you as managers to help them meet their goals. We expect you guys to focus on job goals, job design, and job management. With job goals, you're going to need to review the roles of the workers, modify their jobs to make sure they're meeting goals, as well as analyzing any processes to make sure they complete each job, as opposed to or just a process that's there. We need to analyze those regularly. We need to focus on job design, review administrative tasks to make sure our workers aren't oversaturated with administrative tasks, taking them away from producing their output to making espresso machines. We need to make sure that the work environment is ideal and that equipment functions properly is all part of that job design. And as job management, your job as managers, what we expect in HR is that you put capable people in an environment that supports their accomplishment of job goals. That's per Rumler and Brock. That's why we do this. You need to continuously analyze the above steps we just mentioned, as well as provide feedback on a continuous basis. Now, Daniels, he recommended using feedback by graphs. And what that means is maybe throwing up a TV in the work areas safely and out of the way on the walls, and display maybe a graph of what the output currently is, where it's been over the last 5 days, 10 days, 30 days, whatever you guys deem necessary. That way every worker can see as an overall what they're doing, how they're working towards that goal. So now that you understand how we expect you to help them meet their goals, let's tell you what their goals should be at the job performer level. We need jobs and performers to focus on quality and quantity. First, quality. We need them to decrease the defects by 15%. If you want to have the best market share, if you want to have those DPMO we talked about at the process level, you have to focus on quality. So we expect each individual to decrease their defects by their individual amount of defects by 15% over the next fiscal year. That may be harder for some than others, but it is what is expected. By lowering those defects, get low and hurts. Say that RKW can increase productivity because we do not have to take time to rework the defective products while increasing the capacity of what each worker can make. So if you're not focused on reworking something, you're able to make more of that thing. We also expect quantity to improve. We expect, again, we need that overall quantity to go from 350 to 1,000. However, what we're going to expect you to do at this level is to focus on how long it takes the overall process to make one machine or 10 machines, whatever it is you deem necessary. We're not here to micromanage. But once you have that average, we need you to figure out what each employee is and where they're at with that average, and use micro goals to help raise that average for each person. How many times they're taking, how long it takes them to make a machine. And if they're having issues getting to that average, above average, or raising the average, we need you to look at training, equipment, the environment, and the personnel. Kind of the things we talked about earlier and how to manage. We expect you to look at those and not just fire somebody because they're not meeting what we expect them to meet on day one. And to implement this, communication is key. We need to communicate why these new processes are in place, why what they're doing is important, so each worker can feel important and understand what they're doing. We also need to provide feedback. We need constant feedback, and that we now mandate as a company 6-month feedback sessions that get documented. However, that's not the only feedback we want to happen. We want daily feedback to happen, and we're going to promote that through positive reinforcement. We're going to make sure that at every level, each person is getting the feedback they need on how they're doing their job, what they're doing well, and what they could do better. And if we continue to do that at every level, we'll see that increase, we believe, substantially. And going back to that communication piece, we need to understand that without standards, performers cannot fully understand the level of performance they're expected to attain. It ties into feedback and communication, and that's coming from Roman and Brock. You can find that on page 65 of their book. Now, we also had talked about doing a monthly a monthly employee of the month program based on metrics met. However, after speaking with Daniels, we understand that's not exactly a good idea. That'll only allow us to recognize one employee at a month, therefore 12 employees a year. If we switch that to weekly, we're able to recognize 52 employees a year, approximately, depending on the year. And it will improve, we believe, performance more substantially than a monthly program would. And what will happen is whatever employee produces the most output that week with the least deficiencies in that output, defects and deficiencies in that output, would win either extra 4 hours paid time off, or a longer lunch for a week, or perhaps a gift card. It's really up to that employee what they want and what helps motivate them. And we need your guys as team leads and managers, we need your input on what to do there. And additionally, we were going to want to do an annual reward for the top 5 performers. But again, after speaking with Daniel, we understand that may demotivate a lot more people than it motivates. So instead of doing that, any employee that meets the performer level metrics of 6 Sigma and increases productivity by 10% year over year will receive 2 extra paid days off on top of any of their other paid days off. We will also focus on rewarding individual performance over team performance. And the reason that is we've read through Higuera that what that tends to do if you focus on the team performance is to create tension between employees who are strong performers, but are judged by those less strong performers or lazy performers. So we want to avoid that. So now that you understand what we're doing at the job performer level, the process level, and the organizational level, you now understand why we're focusing on a smoother manufacturing process and why we focus on all 3 levels and how they're all tie into each other and help each other focus. If we do all this and we work towards this, we know our organizational vision will be met. We will be the best espresso machine maker in America. We will have 80% market share, and we will have 15% increase in net revenue year over year. Again, if you have any questions about this, our performance goals, please get with myself or my colleague, Jen, and we'll be happy to help you. Have a great day, and thanks for coming to our Zoom meeting today.